Okay, hello everybody. My name is Adelina Aleksieva. I'm from the Sofia, Bulgaria. Again, with my colleague Milen Petrov, who is the professor in the Sofia University, and the master student Georgi Stoyanov, we want to present our papers with the topic analysis of the modern security plugins from WordPress. So I'm from the Technical University, where both university is enrolled in one project, which is founded by the Bulgarian National Science. It is related to the security of the software. According to our presentation and our study, um, how can I change the slide? By mouse. Okay. Uh, so maybe you know that WordPress is the most wide use content management system. The WordPress is open source and it is used to create some sites in the internet. Here you can see some facts. For example, the WordFence report says that their software blocked 9 billion attacks from 57 million unique IP address, which is around 2,800 attacks per second. And because the WordPress is open source, it is much harder to protect this software. So it is a big problem. You can see also which is the most common attack vectors. This is weak of internet passwords, outdating of software, daemon plugin vulnerabilities, configuration errors, compromise hosting, so all of this. And this is the reasons that most of the developers who evolve for the WordPress in their sites try to choose some security plugin for this WordPress systems. And if you looking for the keyword security from the WordPress plugins, you can find over 1,000 results from these plugins. So the problem here is how can you select the most appropriate plugins which will be solved the problem with the security. This is our main goal. Here you can see it, but I will highlight the most important thing. So we want to build the architecture, the software architectures, which create the test environments, and to provide some static and active or dynamic test in order to experiment to see what type of threats will be can be protected our sites. So the main research questions which we try to solve in our paper, this is to selecting the plugins that will participate in the current study. This is important to choose the suitable sample that includes not only some of the most popular plugins, but also that to use the approaches to solve security problems. Also to prepare a suitable testing environment for conducting the tests, and of course to selecting the set of threats that will be part of the testing framework, and to find samples using to attack of the real websites. There is very interesting related works on these topics. For example, one of the such kind of the research, it is determinate which is the most or the common vulnerability of the WordPress. So you can see here some statistics. The main types of the vulnerability are cross-site scripting, which is over the 45% of this. And the SQL injection is around 18%. The cross-site requests for G, it is the 13%, and 19% have the potential to lead an unauthorized access to information, so to have access to your sites. The other research is using one software tool, RIPS, which is do the static code analysis in order to see the most security plugin for the word sets and what is the vulnerability which it is found there. So you can see that in this study it is use 320 type plugins, and 860 vulnerabilities were found in the 126 using only these tools. But our goal is to be much more complexity of this analysis of the code. So again, you can see that the cross-site scripting vulnerability is the 72% of this vulnerability. And another research. It is interesting because, as I said, one of our research questions is how can we select this security plugin which we want to testing. So this research is related to terminate the test the capability of security plugins to detect vulnerability plugins versions. So there is the authors use some criteria for selection of the security plugins. So you can see to provide security for the plugins, to have the free versions, and to have at least 10,000 active installation on the internet. So according this study, there is two main plugins which is highlight. This is the Secure Press and WordPress. And another research which is also some interesting because it is demonstrate why the WordPress is so wide using in the internet. So you can see from the 6,082 websites which is identified the content management systems. The results shows that the almost most of the half of them, so 54% is using the WordPress as a content management system. Okay, so according to our study, we have three criteria which we selected to select the security plugin for the workplace. The first one is the accessibility. So we are only interested from these plugins which is free. The second is the popularity. So it is must that this plugin is rating then more than 4 stars. And the third one is the functionality. So we want to introduce that as minimum requirements to plugins to have the malware scanners. So this is the criterions, and the plugins which we selected is 3. WordFence security, which has over 4 million active installation, and it is rated as the 4.5 star. Security, auditing and malware scanner and security hardening, over the 100,000 active installation and rating with again 4 stars and half. So the free versions in this is not include the firewalls. This is the interesting fact. And the third plugin which we selected, this is the Quetera web malware scanner, which is not so popular as the previous two, but it has over 10,000 active installation and 4-star rating, which meets the requirements. Okay, so using this criteria and selecting these plugins, we create our test environment. I will not go in deep with the technical issues, but we needed the PHP and install the MariaDB, which is the requirements from the running these WordPress systems. And the most important here in this test environment that we use the separate independence environment for each of these WordPress. You can see in the, three different pools which is installed. And of course, when we do our test about this vulnerability, we run only the one of these pools of these sites. Okay, about the test definitions, what we choose about our tests. The first is the testing to ability to detect malicious address. We have here 6 tests in the category, which contains 25 links to using to redirect in these malicious sites. Testing the ability to detect malicious code distributed in the temps. Here we have 4 zero temps infected with the known malicious programs. The other test is the testing the ability to detect the potential security threatment plugins. We have here 2 types of text, which is plugins which contains 4 malicious programs and plugins that contains known vulnerability. Testing with non-malicious programs. Here we include 17 scripts and 4 location. So we have totally 68 tests. Testing protection against complete words or user and password exhausting. This is, we use one software, WP scan tool. And testing the performance of the WordPress installation. So we here have a 3 tests. One is when performance is in the normal environments, test which performance with during the scanning and scanning duration. So test includes 200 users, 500 posts generated with WP dummy data generated. Okay, so I will not give in details of how you provided this test. You can read of the paper if you're interested. I will give you only the results from the security plugins. Here is the main results which we found. The malicious files, stems, plugins, and scripts were not detected by the returner scanner. So it is you can see that it is not found these files. Also, the vulnerable plugins were not shown as threat, and vulnerabilities themselves were exactly without the problem. Also, when you have the testings process with the brute force user passwords were not prevented in any way. Only have the notification which is sent to administrator. And performance tests shows good results, but not so significant, which we can show it. According to the WordPress security plugin, tests containing address of malicious websites, none of the threats are detected again. The tests were with attempts and extension contains malicious files were passed at 100 process. So the found problems were marked as critical and shows in the table with additional information about them. According to plugins containing with vulnerabilities were successfully identified and suitable information about the vulnerability were detected. It is from the 4 from the 7 tests were passed. The WordPress handles attacks such as cross-site scripting, which you see that it is the biggest percent in the research it is found in these systems, SQL injection as well, and where obviously malicious payload is placed in the get and post parameters. Also, of the tests with the malicious problem in the file systems, 24 from 34 tests were passed. The test of the protections against complete user and password brute force was successfully, and the account ready in the attack was blocked soon after it began. And the performance evaluation shows a difference of the 30% when WordPress was enabled and disabled. During the scanning, the request test took 3 times longer, around 300%, with the process of the test machines of the 200 volt. And the last plugin, which is the Qtera web mouse scanner, the injection testing of the mouse web addresses, 4 out of the 6 tests were successful. Temps and plugins containing Malicos programs were passed, so 6 out of the 8 tests. Tests with known Malicos program, 14 out of the 15 were detected. The plugin does not protect against brute force attack on username and password. And the internal scanner increased query time by over the 100%. So the scanner time was 23 and 26 minutes respectively, which we have. So all these things which I mentioned in the previous slides, I summarize in this table. So you can see the name of the test which we provided and what is the main results of these 3 security plugins which we have. I will summarize in this. So as the main discussions which we have on this study, that the security during the static analysis confirmed that the future promise in the advertisements are indeed unavailable. Some of them were found to have serious implementation gaps, making the highly ineffective. It monitors for attempting password exhausting attacks but does not block them. None of the performance tests were passed, and the overall performance evaluation of the plugin is negative. According to WordPress, the most complex security plugin analysis in the paper, which we describe, it has the large amount of code, more than 130,000 lines of code, which is challenges for the static code analysis. The firewalls was flexible rule structure, which allows modeling a wide range of the vulnerabilities. Tests with Malicos and vulnerability temps and plugins yet satisfied results. Password exhausting attacks were also successfully detected, and none of the tests with the links to Malicos sites were successfully passed, even through its such a check. And the last one, the quarter web marker scanner. This is the smaller than the previous, which we analyzed. The static analysis of the code revealed one main function, scanning the file system for malware. The test to detect vulnerability plugins and the test to prevent exploitation of the test, these vulnerability were unsuccessful. It was exactly due to the lack of the firewall, and the malicious code detected passes half of the tests. So of the main conclusions, the paper select 3 main plugins. The source code of each was over the 200,000 lines of code. And we use various different techniques for detecting threats and vulnerability during this analysis. So the integrated, the core file, themes, and plugin is checked. The file are checked for tempos of known vulnerability. IP address and domains are extracted and checked to determine if they appear on blacklist containing known malicious ones. Versions of themes and plugins are checking for known vulnerabilities, and firewalls blocks malicious traffic based on predefined rules. So thank you for your attention. This is our email address. The Georgi Stoyanov is the student who performs the most of the text, and he has also the GitHub repository where you can find the detail of these results. Okay.